Testing. 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 Oh, I gotta get rid of this. Oh, wow. Hello. I didn't know I was still on here. I do apologize, everybody. It's technical difficulties. You should be able to hear me fine now. Uh, Everything seems to be going well. If you can't hear me, please comment in the field and let me know you can't hear me. Look, I'm not going to be here long. So here goes. First and foremost, don't forget we're in the middle of a fundraiser. So that's that. We need your support like never before. If you know the work I've been doing, you know what I'm talking about. Black Men Lead, Restoring Ghetto's Forgotten Daughters, Music is Life, Black Community Initiative, and so much more. Decades of work, you know it. This isn't new. We've been here for quite some time. Some of you guys have followed me for years. We need your support. The work that we do is immensely important. For those of you who are new, there's a link in the description box. If it's not there, I'm going to make sure that it is there. That allows you to go to our site and see all the work we do. Check out our programs. Look at what's there. For those of you who need our resources, there's a way to reach out to us. With that being said, let's move into this. So everybody's talking about what's going on with Lori Harvey, and Michael B. Jordan. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's weighing in. It seems from their own personal experiences and how they feel about things. And what actually gets me is this. I'm probably not going to be making a whole bunch of people happy because of how I'm going to approach it. You know, I'm not real big on the sensational stuff. I don't like to jump on all the viral stuff and sensationalized stuff. I'm not real big in getting in celebrities' businesses unless I see a teaching opportunity. And I think it's a teaching opportunity here in so much. Anybody who knows me, first and foremost, knows how much I value marriage. Those who are very close and pay attention know that, hey, even I have times where things aren't great. And so I have to be careful that when I'm talking about it, that I'm not talking about it from where I'm at right now, but from what I really truly believe about it. You know, if you follow me, that a great deal of how I feel about marriage is huge in the overall scope of how I feel like we empower our community. I believe that the values, interests, and values, interests, and principles that are at the core of the fiber of our empowerment. The things we need to pass on to our children are done within the scope of the family, which is anchored by the marriage. So, over the years, how I have carried my wife and how I've spoke of my wife, how I speak proudly of my marriage and everything. So how I feel about it. And it doesn't change because I may be going through something or I may be doing that doesn't change. So I have this unbelievable value of marriage. I have this unbelievable view, and it's not romanticized. Trust me, it's not romanticized. I understand the challenges. I understand the cultural influences. I understand what it means to be saying, I'm going to commit to something and actually have an understanding of what that commitment and that covenant means and how it plays over time. I understand all of that. So what I'm going to talk to you about is in the vein of understanding that while trying to remove my own personal biases and look at everything else, because I see a lot of bias in it. I see a lot of things that is here. And I think a lot of times Lori Harvey is going to be associated, number one, with her father, Steve Harvey, and with her past. And so for those who are going to judge on that level, go ahead and judge. I'm not here to tell you whatever. I'm not one to judge a person by their past. I'm not one to judge a person by what happens. And, there's plenty of guys who call me simp and a bunch of other things. When I met my wife, she had 6 kids. I married her and took those kids as my own, and they will always be mine. And that's the end of that. So what was happening in the past missed me with that. Well, I'm looking at where you are now. And here's what I think. First and foremost, we spend way too much time putting our weight, energy, and effort into what celebrities are doing. They're not living our lifestyle. Yes, they're Black. And yes, we tend to live vicariously through them. And yes, we get all caught up because they live lives that most of us are probably never going to experience. And it looks good, it feels good, and we become emotionally attached, and we can see it and we can feel it. So then what do? We end up right back where we always are. Black men against Black women. Look how stupid she is. And look what she let go of. And there's a thing here that I get as a Black man that wants to build the Black community, that when you have a chance to build, you build. But what you have to understand is it requires two. Marriage isn't about, hey, look, this dude's got the bag, grab it. Marriage isn't about, hey, one of the most eligible bachelors in Hollywood just asked you to marry. You can't miss this opportunity. You got to jump on it. What you got to understand is Lori Harvey is attached to a person that's worth several $100 million. And I'm pretty sure he's got her set up. So money isn't an issue with her, whatever her issue is. And I'm not saying it's good, because some of the advice that her father has consistently put out there is trash, absolute trash. And a bunch of people are biting on it, a bunch of women are jumping on it, destroying relationships, destroying marriages, and so much else. It's trash. So if she's following that, good. But what I'm saying is at the core of this thing is a person saying, I'm 25, I'm not ready. Now, that was a time in a situation, and there are in other cultures times where women at the age of 24 or 5 are ready to be married because they were literally reared to be wives. Why? Because that's how those cultures build, develop, and protect their wealth within the marriage. That's the best way to inculcate values into a child's life. Mother and father in the home, teaching them the values that were taught to them, perpetuating wealth, perpetuating family value systems, perpetuating into the future the success of the children, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren, and on down the line. The problem is, in this culture, the average 25-year-old is not ready for marriage. And even a woman that may be in her 30s or 40s, if she sits up and says, look, I'm not ready for marriage, we need to listen, man. It ain't about how much money we got. It's not how chivalrous we are. It's not how well we protect. She's telling you for whatever reason, she's not ready. Now, should she be ready? That's a different discussion. I'm not having that discussion today. What I am having is a discussion that sits up and says, look, what we don't need is a bunch of broken homes. What we don't need is another single parent or co-parenting situation. We've got enough of that. What we need to do is start to build minds that are prepared to come together and build. We need to be honest with one another. And if nothing else, I think from what I've heard, I didn't spend a whole time looking into it because I think it's getting way too much gravity. But I do see a teaching opportunity about this thing called marriage that I hold so dear. Hey, look, it requires some things that the average person ain't ready to give. I'm going to tell you that right now. I was talking to a family member who is actually a family member of my wife, but we're very close. We're spiritual confidants. And we talked about unconditional love and what that looks like. We talked about covenant and what that looks like. We talked about commitment and what that looks like. The average person ain't ready for this. The average person ain't ready to go into those dark pits. Now, as long as we on the honeymoon, as long as everything's shining, as long as everything's good, oh, we all in for that. As long as we can flouse and we've got eye candy, whether it's male, whether it's the man or the woman, we got eye candy and we flaunting it and we showing everybody we on this beach, we on that beach. It's all good until it gets real. And then you find out just how committed you are. And then you find out exactly what's going on. And it's not all peaches and cream. Unconditional love is something that is very rarely presented outside of parenting. Now, a lot of us do it in parenting, but see, parenting is this transitional thing to where kids get up and move on with their own lives. So that unconditional love is always evolving, but that unconditional love that's required in a marriage is a whole nother level. See, we talk about the money, we talk about all the other things that's on the surface. Yes, we need to be building, we need to have wealth, and this is a good opportunity, but this is a situation where you're talking about two people and everybody's having this hissy fit about two people. The last thing on their mind is money. They got it. So that's the last thing on their mind. What they are focusing on, and I think what he's saying, I'm ready to build a family. He's 35. She's 25. She's 25 in a world where the world is really kind of like her oyster. I mean, she can pretty much do what she wants to, and she's probably going to get away with it, even if we don't like it and don't agree with it. So why are we investing our time in that? But I think she has a right to sit up and say, now, I don't know how it started. I don't know, because I don't trace them. I'm not like, oh my God, what are they doing today? All that stuff like that. Like a lot of people have. I haven't. I saw they got together. I thought that was a weird coming together because I had seen a special on him and how family oriented he is and how connected he is with his mother and father and how all of that stuff comes together. He's real family oriented. And I'm going like Lori Harvey, and I'm knowing what I've heard. I haven't kept it, but it's been paraded out there. And I'm going like, okay, whatever he sees, he's a grown man. Now, at the beginning, if it said, look, this is where I'm at, and this is where I'm at, and they get together, there has to be understanding as long as there's a communication, because I'm gonna tell you, people don't want to invest their time over periods of time to find out that what they invested in doesn't exist. And I think that's something that we have to look at. When you invest in something, you want to know what you're investing in actually exists, and that no matter what, there's something that you can work toward, that you're going in the same direction. And then you figure things out as you go. There's no perfect situation. There's no perfect relationship. There's no perfect marriage. It's about figuring things out. It's about finding out how committed you are to working through whatever difficult situations you're going to overcome. And trust me, you're going to come into difficult situations. I don't care how prepared you are. I don't care how much you know. I don't care how experienced you are. Life just simply happens. What are you going to do about it? That's that thing. So in essence, first of all, we've got way too much invested in people who live lives completely different than we do on a daily basis. Their lives don't move in the same dynamic vein that our lives move into, and don't require them to be as invested in the overall scope of wealth building because it's already there. They're just going to simply have to know how to pass it down and protect it. Whereas we are talking about building it. And so there's a different thing, and there's a requirement and a necessary need to be committed to something long enough to build it. And we don't have that in many instances. So you would think that you would want somebody that would sit up and tell you, hey, look, I'm not ready. Why? Because I don't want to put 6 and 7, 8, 9 years into something and then find out that what I thought I had, I didn't have. And so I want you to tell me up front, this is who I am. This is where I'm at any given moment. This is probably what I'm going to do. So now you know, and then you figure it out. But other than that, you've got to sit up and say, okay. And are you the type of person that sits up and looks at it and goes, hey, I'm not just going to give up that easy, because sometimes it's heavy, it's big, it's huge. And those are the things I think we need to be developing within our children, the understanding of the power of covenant, understanding of the level and the gravity and the importance of marriage, the understanding of how you need to be prepared to enter into something like that. I think we enter into it far too lightly. I think we enter into it with way more emphasis on the wedding than we do on the actual marriage. And I think that it shows up in our divorce rates. I think it shows up in our single parenting. I think it shows up in our inability to create, because every time you create a home and you break it and you move on, that's harder and harder and harder to build wealth. Why? Because you're splitting resources. And now you're trying to sit up and manage multiple places, because men, whether you realize it or not, when you procreate and you leave that child behind, you leave a responsibility that you're emotionally responsible, financially responsible for. Ladies, when you lay down and you procreate with this man, when he leaves, he takes a piece of you with him. He also takes a piece of that child with him. Now, no matter how well you co-parent, the energy that's necessary in the home, that masculine energy that he holds, isn't there. And so now you're trying to take on responsibilities and roles that you're not built to take on. And you do the best job you have. Black women have done an extraordinary job in this area, but that's not what you're built to do. So we're not getting the best out of what we're putting out there because we're not functioning the way we are designed to function. That's the reality of it. So instead of building up this toxic thing we tend to build up the moment that something happens where Black men are moving against Black women and Black women are moving against Black men, and not realizing that that very division is the thing that the system is trying to perpetuate. Even in the media, they are pushing narratives that's constantly put us against one another. Am I saying that you didn't get hurt by some dude? Am I saying that you didn't get screwed over or abandoned and messed over and tricked by some female? Absolutely not. I'm saying that's probably the reality for a bunch of you, because that's what's happening in our world. Am I saying? But what I'm saying is, if we hold on to that, we will destroy ourselves. You've got to sit up and become what you can become, so that you can be the best you can be. And if you are healed and whole enough to be ready for marriage, find someone else who's healed and whole enough and ready for marriage, and understanding the powerful opportunity you have to come together and build something. And that's the thing. Some of us just want to go at each other. It's so easy to complain. It's so easy to point fingers. It's so easy to attack. But it's so much more powerful to love, to heal, to release stuff, and to grow. I know for men, it's hard, real. Why? Because men, we're taught not to let nobody get over on us. We're taught we can't be weak. We can't be simps. We can't be somebody that somebody got over on. That's just something in us that we want to go for the juggler. Once we feel somebody's got us, somebody's gotten over on us, somebody's played us. So that's this mindset, I just got to. And women, it's hard for you to let go of the pain, because that's how your brain moves. That's how your brain operates. But the problem is, that toxicity that we're both holding on to is the equivalent of drinking poison and hoping someone else dies. Your anger towards women is not helping you. Your anger and hostility towards men is not helping you. It's not helping the Black collective. What it is helping is a system that's exploiting that anger, that's exploiting that toxicity, that's exploiting that lack of trust, that's exploiting all those things. And what are we doing? We're falling right into the trap. One of my top 5 quotes of all time, that if there's no enemy on the inside, the enemy on the outside can do us no harm. We're destroying ourselves from within, because we won't let go of what hurt us, so that we can heal enough to ensure that we don't pass the hurt down. Yes, that's what I got out of all this, because to me, this is what I do for a living. I've literally studied my people for 30 years. I know what's killing us. I know what's destroying us. I know why our marriages are falling apart. But I can tell you from experience that knowing isn't good enough. We got to heal. We got to be willing to fight. And I'm going to tell you something, men. This is for men. This is from me to you. You're going to have to put the pride down. You're going to have to go into a place that you can't take pride and ego, because pride and ego will make you throw things away. Pride and ego will make you walk away from something that still has potential. Pride and ego will make you say, screw it, and then go out there and hurt somebody else, dismiss the idea of love altogether, be like so many men I see in my age group and older that are lit. Man, I remember just 7 years ago going into the cigar shop. I've been going to the same cigar shop for years. Going into the cigar shop and having these conversations, and I would just look around the room and see how many of the brothers that I'm sharing with have a ring on, and how we conversate and talk about our wives, and how it was a positive environment. In just 7 years, I've watched how many men now are in their 50s and 60s, and they don't have this connectivity, and they're living like they're in their 20s. That is not the life I want for myself. So then I have to make up in my mind, how am I going to make sure that that's not the life I live? Because life happens. Life happens. This whole idea of the honeymoon, eternal, there are some great stories, but every person that I've talked to when I researched my 2 books on marriage, they've had some unbelievable runs and some awesome life. 50 years, 60 years. The longest marriage I saw was 75 years. They were in their 90s. And they still had this unbelievable love for each other, but they told me some stuff that they've been through that most people won't know because it wasn't their business. So this idea that there's this perfect situation that you get to have in life is screwing people. We're romanticizing one of the greatest responsibilities there is. And anybody that knows responsibility understands it comes with hard work. It comes with a lot of push and pull. It comes with sometimes dashed hopes that have to be dried off and repositioned. You have to be willing to put in the work. Look, that's that. Again, on the surface, we don't need to be investing that much time in those 2 people. Underneath the surface, there's a good opportunity to talk about why we are where we're at, and why we are having the problems we're having, and why there's such a void and a gap in between us, and why it's negatively impacting us, and what we need to do about it. And that's what I decided to do with it. It's easy to take shots at people. One of the things that I've made up in my mind to do, I told people, sometimes pain makes you bitter and hostile. What my pain has done for me is make me sensitive to my potential of hurting other people. And so my mind is focused on being the best I can be, to be a healer, to be a helper, to show people that you can love again, and that you can receive love, and that it's okay to have been through something. So that's that on that. On the flip side, look, I'm going to tell you some things that we should be focused on. Financial literacy. We are the worst in the world at teaching our children financial literacy because most of us don't understand it. I created with my team, I created a compact group on helping parents teach young kids and teens financial literacy. I created this guide. It's a step-by-step guide. It's easy to follow. It's $10. That's in there. That's what you ought to be focused on. I also have created an opportunity for people to create multiple streams of income online, something I use to recover when my business failed. That's in there. I've also am helping people this weekend in a masterclass deal with trauma, unhealed trauma. It's destroying relationships. You want to talk about marriage? Let's talk about unhealed trauma. Let's talk about things we don't want to confront. Let's talk about what's going on with us men. Let's talk about some of the hurts that we don't want to talk about as children, some of the things we don't want to talk about with our relationships with our moms, some of the things. Let's talk, women, about some of the hurts and pains that you're bringing out of your childhood that some people you've never shared with anyone, and some others you've shared and they didn't believe you, and how you are carrying that hurt and how it's interfering with your life. I'm going to be doing that, and the link to that masterclass is in there. If you want to talk about some things, talk about the things that you can use to change your life, that you can use to empower yourself, that you can elevate yourself into a place. Because I tell you what, whether we're talking about Michael B. Jordan or Lori Harvey, unless some catastrophic things happen, those two are going to be fine. But the people I deal with on an everyday basis are suffering, are struggling, are in pain, are in disdain, are in despair. And the thing is, there's healing and hope there, and we're not pursuing it. We're too busy attacking one another. We're too busy placing blame. It's time to put in the work. So in that description box is something that you can engage that's going to actually help you, help your home, help your community, help build something better than what we're living in. That's what I want you to focus on. I hope that I left you with something to think about. I hope I left you with something to ponder. But whatever it is, I gave it what I had without attacking anybody. That's my thing. I'm not trying to attack anybody. I'm trying to love everybody. And the people I can't love, I'm just going to step aside and move away from them, because for so long I've spent myself on edge, ready to fight, ready to attack. And the things that I need energy to fight for now, I can't surrender myself to anything negative. So I'm going to be about building. I'm going to be about loving. I'm going to be about lifting. Call me whatever you want to call me. Because me trying to prove to somebody I'm a simp doesn't put one dime in my bank account. It doesn't heal one broken relationship. It doesn't do anything but make me feel good in my ego that I took something and I said something, or I went off on somebody. Man, I'm 50. I'll be 55 years old next month. I don't have anything to prove to anybody but myself. And what I'm going to prove is that I'm as strong as I've always believed. And I'm going to love, and I'm going to be a part of a solution for my family, for my people, for myself. And everything else, I'm going to lay down at the wayside, and I'm going to let everybody else deal with, because that negativity is destroying us. Take that. And I love you, and I'm out of here.